Hello Cooler Yogis, I'm Stephanie. I'm going to be guiding you through today's strength practice. We're going to be exploring our forearm stand and our dolphin today. Our forearm stand is one of the inversions that we often insert into our flow practice. It can be one of those poses that is a little bit elusive because commonly it doesn't feel very easy to get into. So today I'm going to be working through some strength practices to help to open your shoulders up, strengthen your body and your legs so that dolphin and potentially forearm stand will feel a little bit easier for you or accessible. We're going to start today in child's pose. So when you're ready, bring your knees nice and wide, hips on heels, and walk the arms forward. We are going to take a few opening postures first and then start to work into the strength conditioning. So walking the hands forward and let the forehead melt down on the earth. Let's turn this into an active child's pose. So reach the arms a little bit more forward and lift the elbows off the earth. You can cupcake your fingertips, so lifting up onto the tippy fingers. And then see if you can lengthen through the sideways. So you might lift up a little, reach forward, and then lengthen your hips back towards your heels. Take 2 breaths. One more, inhale and exhale. On your next inhale, lift up halfway, walk your hands over towards the left side, reach towards the left and then sink the hips back. So they might not reach all the way towards your heels, but you'll get a nice stretch through the right side of your body. And 2 breaths into the right ribs. One more breath in. Steady exhale. Inhale, come back to center and then over to the right side. Reach with your left arm and then exhale, sink back into this lateral stretch, the side body stretch. And then 2 deep breaths into the left ribs here. Steady breath in. Steady breath out. Inhale, come back to center and then lift the hips up so that over the knees and then reach the arms forward. And you might start to melt the heart or melt the chest down towards the ground. Your forehead might come down to the earth or your chin might come down to the earth, depending on the openness of your shoulders. If you like here, you can bend the elbows and create a prayer position with the hands above the head, letting the chest sink down just a bit more. And 2 more breaths here. Release, come up to all fours. We're going to take one more mobility shape, and this is thread the needle. So start by reaching your right arm out to the right side and up, and then exhale, thread through. Bring your right shoulder, right ear down towards the earth. Left arm reaches over the head, and taking a few deep breaths into your left side. Bring the left hand back to the ground in front of the face, pressing in to reach all the way back up, unraveling. And then hand comes back down to the ground. Left arm reaches out to the side and up. And then exhale, thread through, coming onto your left shoulder, left ear down to the ground. Right arm can reach over the head. And then a couple deep, full breaths here. Bring the right hand back to the ground in front of the face, pressing in to reach all the way back up, unraveling, and then hand comes back down. From all fours, let's just take a few rounds of cat-cow. So open the chest forward and exhale, round in, chin to chest. Inhale, reach the chest forward, and exhale, round in, chin to chest. And then come to neutral. So one of the things that happens in our dolphin or our pincher when we start to lift one leg is that our hips want to twist. So we're going to have a little practice of keeping the hips in line with the shoulders when we start to separate the legs. So press into the hands, press into the shins, and we want to keep the hips as stable as possible. So if you have a book, you might even place it on top of the hips, kind of like when you balance a book on top of your head. So pressing into the hands, take a breath in, exhale, hug in through the lower belly to stabilize and keep your hips as stable as possible as the left leg goes back, the right leg goes back. And then from here, see if you can take a little tap to the ground and then lift of the heel. Not a big movement, but the hips stay really stable. What we want to avoid is a piking up of the hip because that's a twist through the spine. So we want to keep the spine nice and neutral as the leg lifts and lowers. Lifts and lowers. Good. Let's do 3 more. This might feel pretty easy to begin. We'll be ramping it up. 1 more, lift up and then knees back down. Good, let's do our second side. So press into the hands, press into the shins. Take a breath in. Stabilize through the core. And then left leg goes back. Flex the toes. So we don't want the heel any higher than the hips. And we want the hips to stay nice and even. As if you've got a book there or a plate. And then tap the toes to the ground and lift back up. So the movement is coming from the thigh bone moving in the hip socket rather than the lower back. So keep the lower back nice and steady, hips nice and steady. As you lift and lower the leg, keep the heel pressing. Good. Let's do 3 more. And last one, lift and back to kneeling. We're going to come to do some dolphin pikes now. So bring your elbows down on the ground where your hands are. So you don't want your shoulders your elbows any wider than shoulder width distance. Interlock the fingers, tuck the toes under and come to a forearm plank. So this isn't dolphin where our hips are piked, but it's a little further out. So our shoulders are stacked above our elbows. And our legs are long and straight and our core is engaged. And then we're going to pike up. So we're going to press into the forearms, pike the hips up. And then come forward to your forearm plank. Exhale, pike up. And then forward to forearm plank. Exhale, pike up. Inhale, forward. Let's do 5 more. Inhale, forward. Exhale, pull through the belly. Inhale to come forward. Exhale, pike up. Try not to let the hips dip. We've got 2 more. Piking up. Last one. Inhale forward. Exhale, piking up. And then come back to your forearm plank and bellies down to the ground. We're going to do a little bit of alternate lateral work through the posterior chain muscles. So what that means is we're going to lift our right arm while we lift our left leg and lift our left arm while we lift our right leg. So coming to lay on your belly, reach the arms forward. You can have your head on the ground if you like. We'll just start by lifting your right leg. So keep the whole leg strong. Knee is straight. And then lift the left arm. And then see if you can draw your shoulder back towards your hip and your hip towards your shoulder. And then release down. Left leg lifts up, leg straight. Right arm lifts off the ground. Then try and draw the shoulder towards the hip and the hip back towards the shoulder, as if you're asking your shoulder and your hip to create a messenger service together. Release. We're going to do the same again. So right leg lifts, left arm lifts. See if you connect shoulder of the left arm to hip of the right leg. And release. Lift left leg, right arm. Right shoulder speaks to left hip. Left hip speaks to right shoulder. And then release. We're going to do this alternate a little bit quicker now. So lift right arm, right leg, left arm, and then switch. Switch, 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 switch. For another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Elbows underneath the shoulders and press the tops of the feet into the ground. From here, we're going to take a little cat-cow through the spine and work into the abdominal muscles. So we just work through the posterior chain. We're going to work through the frontal chain here. So start by moving through cat-cow in the upper back. So shoulders draw back, chin lifts, and then exhale, round in through the upper back, bring your chin to the chest. You'll feel your belly pull away from the ground. Inhale to come forward, shoulders draw back. Exhale, round in, belly pulls away, maybe the pubic bone lifts off the ground. Inhale, come forward, shoulders draw back. Exhale, round in, belly, pubic bone, maybe thighs lift off the ground. Inhale to come forward, shoulders draw back. Exhale, round in, belly, pubic bone, thighs, maybe knees. Inhale to come forward. So use your variation. We're going to take 5 more. Take a breath in. Exhale, round in, scoop in. Inhale to come forward. Exhale, round in, scoop in. 4. Inhale to come forward. Exhale, round in, scoop in. 3. Inhale to come forward. Exhale, round in, scoop in. 2. Inhale to come forward. Last one. Exhale, round in, scoop in. Last one. And release down. Tuck the toes, hands underneath shoulders. Press back to all fours. Downward facing dog. From here, we're going to take a similar movement to that first all fours position that we did before. So hips are going to stay stable as our shoulders stay stable and our right leg moves. So we're going to come from our down dog to our down dog splits and then tap the foot to the ground. Lift back up, tap the foot to the ground. Try and keep the left hip lifting, belly engaged to stabilize the hips. We've got 5 more lifts. 5, 4, both legs are strong. 3, 2, and last one. Foot comes down. Let's rest the shoulders. So come to a kneeling position and interlock the fingers. Just roll out the wrists. And then interlock the fingers behind the head. Open the elbows wide, lift the chest, and exhale, round in. Inhale to open. And exhale to round in. One more time. Inhale, open. And exhale, round in. And then coming back to our downward facing dog. So hands forward, tuck the toes, lift the hips high. Left leg. So left leg lifts up to your down dog. Keep the belly engaged, lower ribs in, and then tap the heel to the ground, lifting up. Tap the heel. Try and lift the right hip up. Keep the hips nice and stable as you just lift and lower the left leg. The left leg is strong. Another 5, 4, 3, 2, and last one. Good. And then release to your knees. All right, so now we're going to come to our dolphin pose. So this is where it can feel really restricted in our ability to move, because if our shoulders are tight or our shoulders aren't strong enough, this pose can feel quite icky. However, it's actually a little bit more stable on our shoulders than what our downward dog is, because we've got less joints involved. All right, so our dolphin pose, we want to have the elbows shoulder width apart. Maybe you bring your hands to your elbows and wrap your fingers around just to check that they're only shoulder width distance. You won't be able to do this if your elbows are too far away. So bring them in and wrap your fingers around your elbows. You'll know that that's the right distance then. Then bring your forearms to the ground. From here, tuck the toes and lift the hips up. You might prefer to walk the feet out a little bit. And then what I want you to think about is pressing into your forearms. So trying to move your chest away from the ground. I like to think of it as you've got a big pile of poo in the middle of your mat and you're trying to lift your chest away from it, like, eee. All right. So looking at that big pile of poo and lifting the chest away. Little giggles help, that helps engage the core, sure. And then maybe here you bend the knees and you lift the hips up a little higher, as if you're piking the hips up. Keep pressing into the forearms, lift up onto the tippy toes, and then release down. Good. So here you might like to come onto your heels and take some shoulder rolls. We're going to try lifting one leg now. And we're going to do similar to what we did before, where we're just lifting it up and down and thinking about stabilizing the lower back. So, checking your distance, forearms to the ground, lift the hips up. Make sure your shoulders aren't too far forward. You want them over the elbows, pressing into the forearms. Maybe you walk your feet forward. A little bend into the knees helps to lift the tailbone. Then right leg lifts and lowers. Lifts and lowers. We've just got 6 of these, so 4 more. 3, 2, last one, and release. Good. This time, interlock the fingers behind the back, roll the shoulders back, a little lift of the chest, getting an opening. So we're always balancing out all this closed position with some beautiful opening positions. Second side. So back to our forearms. Take your elbows, palms of the hands on the ground. Pike the hips up. From here, left leg lifts and then lowers. Watch the lower back isn't arching. Hips are nice and stable. As you take another 3, 2, and last one. Feet down, knees on the earth, release. This time we're going to cactus the elbows. So arms reach up, elbows bend, cactus. Inhale up, elbows bend, cactus. Inhale up, elbows bend, cactus. So drawing the shoulder blades together. And then release. Good. So now we're just going to take one more little play. So option here, if that lifting and lowering the leg feels like enough for you today, you might stay there and just work on lifting and lowering the leg. If you want to, we're not going to hop up into a full Pinchamarasana or forearm stand, but we're going to take little hops. The most important thing I want you to think about if you take any hops is that your eyes stay on the ground and you're pressing your chest away from the ground as if you got that pile of poo and you're going away from it. All right, so coming back to our dolphin pose. Hold your elbows, forearms on the ground, then lift the hips up, piking up. Now remember, eyes in between the wrists or on the thumbs, press into the ground. So we're stabilizing the shoulders. Then lift your right leg up. Maybe you're taking the tap, or maybe it's just a few hops, working on the strength of your left leg to hop. 2 and 1, release. Nice work. All right. Second side. How did that feel? Did it feel like you wanted to start to drop into your shoulders? This is why this is strengthening practice, because we really want to focus on pressing into the forearms so that the chest moves away from the ground and we stabilize the shoulders. When we start to collapse the shoulders, we've got that whole weight of the body, but no joint to stabilize. All right, second side. Both legs nice and strong as we do this. So forearms on the ground, tuck the toes, pike the hips. Then left leg lifts. Maybe it lifts and lowers. Maybe you're pressing into your forearms, looking at your thumbs. Make sure you're not looking back at your feet, you're looking at your thumbs. And maybe some hops. So think about that right leg pressing for 3, 2, 1. Good, release. Nice work. Very good. So from here, let's just come down and lay on your back. We'll just take a release. So we're going to take a twist. Knees in towards the belly. Take the arms out to a T. And both knees can go over towards the left side. Maybe you place your left hand on your right knee. Maybe you look over your right ear. And then coming back to center, and then taking the knees over towards the right side. Coming into your twist, looking over the left shoulder, taking some full deep breaths. And then coming back to center. So, there we go. A little bit of strengthening practice for your forearm stand. Have a little play. Do it a couple of times. See how you progress with a couple of days in between. You might find that you're able to do more and more of the practice. You should have felt like your legs were getting stronger. There was more connection with your lower body and your upper back body to stay stable with each other and stop from any twisting, especially as you lifted one leg or maybe even played with those hops. Let me know how you went. Thank you so much for joining me. Good luck with your dolphin and your forearm stand. Namaste.